Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick and Pay, and welcome for a second successive week to the sanctuary that is my self-isolation unit. Now, I haven't been here extensively. My wife managed to find another key to my cellar and extracted me, so I have been dividing time between sampling and appraising wine and looking after two small children who are home from school. And as a result, since I saw you last week, I've watched 8,216 episodes of Peppa Pig and have an overwhelming desire to eat bacon. But in between the madness of looking after and homeschooling two very overenthusiastic and incredibly overexcited small children, I have been playing around with some wine in my cellar, and I thought I would pick up this week on some wine that has found its way into my cellar by delivery over the last month or two that I just haven't had a chance to pick up on and to sample. And so, in no particular order of excitement, but a great deal of collective anticipation, are four wines that are helping me to get through the coronavirus. Now, just a quick note, drinking wine will not necessarily stop the coronavirus, but it'll probably allow you to pass the time in quarantine a little more enjoyably. And I think all the more so because the first of the wines this week has got a really cool story. Now, this was sent up to me by my friend Andrew Harris, who I've known for a long time. He used to be at Rickety Bridge, had a long stint at Annie Else, and he's now with DGB, overseeing a whole range of wine, amongst them the Old Road Wine Company, based out of Franschhoek. Now, that refers to the old road that used to run between Franschhoek and Stellenbosch and would connect the two of them. And they've got a range of wine that is not just good, but also acclaimed. And this particular one, by way of example, is a wine that last little while has won a double gold at Michelangelo. It's won a Mundus Vuni in Germany and has been very well received indeed. But before you even get to the wine, you've got both some really cool artwork and also a cracking story. And I love stories around wine. The label, it's sort of Art Nouveau. It's just cool, the pinks and the blues and the artwork and the decor. It's eye-catching and it just looks fun. And it belies a story that is even more so. Now, in the collection of quirky wines, and they're set up in the Old Road Wine Company into different categories, but the quirky ones, there's a Cape Red blend, so Pinotage-based red blend, that's called the Butcher and Cleaver. I think that's the name. There's something in Cleaver. Anyway, that is a wine that is named after the local butcher in Franschhoek from many, many years ago. And all of the wines in this collection celebrate characters from the winelands. So you've got the one celebrating the butcher, and then you've got the Juliet. Now, it took me a little while to track down exactly why Juliet is so called, but eventually I got hold of Andrew and he enlightened me. So Juliet was another character, apparently a very attractive blonde woman who used to live in Elgin, but would travel over to Franschhoek, supposedly to collect her meat, but so the rumour has it, and pretty strong rumour, rather to visit her friend, the butcher. And I'll leave you to interpret that as you may wish. So it's a cool wineland story, and Juliet has been immortalised in this very colourfully labelled bottle of 2018 Sauvignon Blanc from the Old Road Wine Company. Now, this is a wine that is unashamedly summery in the style in which it is made and the marketing which accompanies its propulsion into the market. And as we are coming up towards Easter and cooler weather, particularly in the Cape and up in Johannesburg and across the Free State, Sauvignon Blanc might be falling off your list of chosen wines. But this being South Africa and this being a planet that's not just in the grip of virus, but also in largely unpredictable climate change, it's entirely possible that out of the middle of nowhere, you'll suddenly have a 33-degree blue sky day and you think, you know what, I'd really do some Sauvignon Blanc. Or perhaps you just drink Sauvignon Blanc as your drink of choice. Either way, this may well be one to add to your list of possibilities. I'm about to find out. Ooh, big burst of summer. Occasionally at some restaurants I've been to of late, there's a very simple dessert. They've taken pineapple and added just a little bit of cayenne pepper or something slightly spicy, not blow the roof of your mouth off, but just with a little bit of a savoury note and perhaps a slight hint of bite. And that's a sort of savoury pineapple that comes through, nice and tropical. Close my eyes and I'm wearing my Speedo. In fact, close your eyes and I'm wearing my Speedo. There's a delight for you to envisage. So nose is fun. What about the wine? So this, amongst other things, drives home one of my key beliefs about South African Sauvignon Blanc. There is Sauvignon Blanc that can age considerably, and I've had some 10, even 15-year-old Sauvignon Blanc that you'd be enormously surprised was A, Sauvignon Blanc, and B, drinking as well as it was, knowing it was Sauvignon Blanc. But I've also had Sauvignon Blanc that's incredibly young. We're now in March, coming up to April. It won't be too long before the first Sauvignon Blancs start arriving at the Dan Really Likes Wine cellar, all nice and fresh and ready for a Johannesburg market that loves its particularly young Sauvignon Blanc. I find, though, 2 years is optimal for so much of our South African Sauvignon Blanc. It's had a little bit of time to settle, loses that slight hint of fizz that I find a little disquieting on the palate, has a little bit more structure, and also loses some of that sharpness, some of that acid that puts so many people off Sauvignon Blanc. And when you achieve that, you get what this wine has. It's a sense of a complete wine. It's not that burst of sharpness. It sits really gently. The tropical fruit is beautiful, and it gives you a wonderfully rounded mouthful of Sauvignon Blanc, followed by a second, a third, and probably several more thereafter. So yes, maybe not the ideal time of the year to be trying some Sauvignon Blanc, but this is a particularly nice way to open up a bottle and to celebrate the legend of Juliet and her butcher friend. And we'll leave the legend at that. Right, so given that Sauvignon Blanc is a completely inappropriate wine to be drinking as we head into winter, I thought I'd open a second bottle of it as well. And this one comes with a great deal of excitement because this is prime Sauvignon Blanc territory. I was at a presentation, had lunch in Johannesburg with Dani Kelder, the winemaker, a few weeks ago now, and Dani's most recent claim to fame, he's got plenty of them, but his most recent claim to fame is that he won the Diners Club Winemaker of the Year, and that is no small accolade. Now, slightly bizarrely, for a winemaker who's based in Nitida in Durbanville Hills, where both the area and this particular estate are famed for their ability to absolutely nail Sauvignon Blanc, he won the award for Pinot Noir. And I think that surprised him more than anybody else, because until recently, he didn't really like Pinot Noir, but he had a crack at it and ended up producing something that the Diners Club judges thought, you know what, this isn't too bad, you've got the award. He's got a really interesting wine pedigree. He's worked over in the eastern part of France on that German border, playing around with Riesling. He's got a particular fondness for Riesling. We had a great conversation about Riesling, which is another wine I really enjoy. But it is Sauvignon Blanc where he gets his feet properly stuck in, and they've got dozens of Sauvignon Blancs, maybe not quite that many, but they do have a wide range from the very fresh, pretty much drink not too long after they've been made, through to wine that really can age and age considerably. And this is one of these. Now, I love the title, it's Wild Child, and there are probably several reasons for it, but the one that I think best reflects the wine is that they're taking Sauvignon Blanc from different sites around Nitida and bringing them together to create a symposium of Durbanville Hills Sauvignon Blanc. And with this particular one, there's just a little bit of semillon, adds a hint of gravitas to the palate and gives a little bit more structure to the wine as a whole. So it takes what I'm sure would have already been a fine Sauvignon Blanc from those various parts of Nitida, and with that semillon just completes the package. Now, if you're a little technical minded, the Durbanville Hills area, Nitida especially, it's got some beautiful clay soil, lots of high clay content in that soil, coupled with the breezes that come in off Table Bay. It just all seems to combine so nicely for the perfect storm of Sauvignon Blanc. Durbanville Hills, not too far away, Mirandale, making some great Sauvignon Blanc. Right across Durbanville Hills, really nice Sauvignon Blanc. But Nitida, with, I think, a fair amount of justification, would lay the claim to the Sauvignon Blanc kings of the particular valley. That's certainly a richer nose than that Juliet. Oh, not dissimilar in that tropical fruit. It's just slightly more intense and heading more towards almost a bit of guava in there. So if that first Juliet was maybe a day at the beach, this is finding yourself stranded on a tropical island, but not Survivor style, rather just happily under a palm tree, watching the coconuts fall and drinking some white wine. And also, just as I taste it on that nose, getting a little bit of green capsicum flavour coming through and blending in and amongst that fruit feel to it. These are the guys, their Golden Orb was the first ever Sauvignon Blanc in South Africa that went to market at over 300 Rand a bottle. When it did, that was a pretty big call. It raised a few eyebrows, but also satisfied expectations when it was tried. This one is about half that price, about 160 Rand or so. The Juliet's about 100 Rand, so this is 160 Rand or thereabouts. And what I really like about it is, whereas that Juliet I think is drinking perfectly now for what it is, this is delightful, but I might keep a few bottles and give it another 3 or 4 years, because I think, especially with that added touch of Semillon and the best of different types of Sauvignon Blanc coming together, it's got more time to celebrate what's already a good wine, but it's got the potential to become a really great one. So I'll mark that down, and perhaps in 3 or 4 years' time, when I'm still sitting in my cellar waiting for the coronavirus to disappear, I've got some more research to do. Right, well, let's get a little more appropriate for the season. And this is probably the ideal wine for autumn, as you're coming out of a nice warm summer and heading into a coolish winter. Some Pinot Noir from a cool climate part of the South African winemaking world. Elgin Ridge gave us the Chaos White. You remember I tried that with the Joburg foodie a few weeks ago. We did a show at Marble. He's obsessed with the Chaos White and drinks it all day, every day. Elgin Ridge don't only make that though. They've got some delightful Sauvignon Blanc, and then they've got this, their Pinot Noir. And there's a quiet and unspoken battle between the Hemelanada Valley and Elgin as to where the best Pinot Noir is coming from. I think overall Hemelanada still win that particular battle, but that's not to say that they are not taking it without a fight, because Elgin is also producing some fantastic Pinot Noir, and I've had quite a lot of it of late. Now this here is their Elgin Ridge 282 Pinot Noir. Now it could represent a bottle that I could drink on my 282nd day sitting in my cellar waiting for the virus to go, but for the wine now, more pertinently, it's the altitude. The vineyard from which these grapes come is at 282 meters above sea level, and it is a splendid view down over Elgin, which has got that wonderfully pastoral English countryside feel to it. Time tends to sit still. You could be sitting drinking a glass of wine. You wouldn't be entirely surprised if a couple of hobbits wandered past, waved at you, and then carried on in search of some rather dodgy second-hand jewellery. I wouldn't be worried by them though. I'd stick to focusing on your wine, and in this case, the Elgin Pinot Noir. Now, I might not be drinking too much Sauvignon Blanc over the next few months. I will be drinking a lot of red wine and a fair amount of Pinot Noir. Now, Pinot Noir is the grape you can drink a lot earlier as a red grape because it's so much softer, it's so much lighter, it doesn't have the same abrasive tannins that can make a very young Cab Sauv, for instance, less than approachable. But that doesn't mean that you have to drink Pinot Noir immediately. Just because you can do something, you don't necessarily need to do it. And in this case, I think I might find that this Pinot Noir is sitting in a really good space, because 5 years old, a bit of time in cellar and a bit of time in bottle. 5 years sounds like a pretty good combination. And from a slightly smoky cherry nose into a very smooth satin-like wine, you can almost be, hold on, I might almost, on a blind tasting, have wondered if that was perhaps a slightly young, very light Syrah, because there's a little bit of spice to that as well. Either way, it's a multifaceted wine that I think is going to add a rather nice dimension to my upcoming autumn. And one of many bottles that suggest you could be sitting around the fireplace solving the world's problems, or just sitting in your cellar hoping that one major problem eventually goes away. Oh. Ah yes, nicely done, Elgin Ridge. Not just that Chaos White, you do so well. Now, if the Elgin Pinot Noir is a wine that suggests you might have some time around the fire, then this is the one to curl up on the couch, open a box of chocolates, crack this open, and indulge in a Bridget Jones box set or whatever else you tend to watch when you're looking for some comfort time on the couch. And I say that despite the fact that I've never tasted this wine, but it comes with a recommendation of somebody whose opinion I hold in very high esteem. Gary Baumgarten heads up the wine operations at Antonie Rupert Weine, the entire group from the Protea down the bottom up to the Antonie Rupert range at the top and everything in between. And we bumped into each other a few weeks ago at a BMW golf event up at Sun City. The Antonie Rupert Cape of Good Hope range was involved, and he cornered me. And if you get cornered by Gary, be prepared A, to get a whole lot of great information, B, some fantastic wine entertainment, and C, not be able to go anywhere for 2 hours because he's very, very passionate about his wine, and wonderfully so. I love him for it. And he said he's got some wine he wanted to send down to me, and if Gary offers you some wine, you certainly don't say no. And there's some from his son, Rolf, which we'll sample in the next few weeks. But then there's this Stonewall, which is an estate in Somerset West. The name refers to a stone wall, surprisingly, that goes around the estate. And the wine itself, overseen by Duval Koch, who is the son of Duval Koch, who I think is the son of Duval Koch, who may well be the son of Duval Koch. Not only do names run in the family, though, so too does the ability, so I'm told, to make some terrific wine. And what links it for me to Gary Baumgarten, who recommended it, is that this particular wine, the 2015 Roubaix, is a blend of Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and Cabernet Sauvignon. And for me, if you look at value for money and quality of wine, the Antonie Rupert Optima, which again Gary Baumgarten oversees, is one of the best wines we have in South Africa, coming in at just under 200 rand a bottle for an exceptional, exceptional wine. It is made up of Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Cabernet Sauvignon, just as this one is here. So they don't make much of this at all. In fact, about 90% of Stonewall's grapes head off to distill to be made into other very good wine. But this here, the 10% that they keep, is wine they've particularly selected to make wine that they feel will give a really good expression of who they are, both as winemakers and of custodians of the terroir from which these grapes come. So this is, it's just a really classic red blend. You can see the old homestead on the front there, which just adds to the sense of history, the sense of tradition, which you get the feel permeates through their wine. But as I say, Gary has recommended it. I'm almost certain it's going to be brilliant, because Gary wouldn't send me wine if it wasn't. However, I do need to make sure he was right. It's just sumptuous. It's one of those wines where you can't wait to taste it, but you're almost happy to delay a moment or two, because there's such a luxurious feel to that nose. It just envelops you, wafts up, and says, geez, I'm good. In fact, I might just go and light a fire now and drink the rest of that curled up on the couch. The perfume of the Cabernet Franc coming through, the richness of the Cabernet Sauvignon, and then, as always, a Merlot doing the dutiful lieutenant role. It is escaping that role in a single varietal expression in more estates, but we still do see the majority of our Merlot in a blend, where it does a very steady job indeed. And in the case of this Roubaix, completes a blend. That illustrates exactly why Gary sent it my way. I think it's probably still got another year or two, though. There's just a little bit more settling down I think it might be able to do. You get a little hint of tannin out of that. But by and large, it is a lovely wine to complete another week stuck in my cellar. Now, you might not be stuck in a cellar at home, but you may well be at home and not wanting to get out too much. And so, if that is the case, but you're looking for wine, then do remember that if you head online to Pick n Pay, you can get your wine online. And if you're a member of the wine club, which is free of charge, they'll deliver 6 bottles or more absolutely free. So it's a really good way to go and explore some new wine, to find some stuff you haven't tried before, maybe bank a few old favorites as well, and get them delivered free of charge, and avoid having to get down to a supermarket. There are, with some of the stores, Pick n Pay deliveries for groceries as well. The wine's the important one for us, though. A couple of Sauvignon Blancs. Try them out now, or look out for them for summer. and especially with that Nitida, you can buy it now and keep it for another few years to see how it goes. That Elgin Ridge will lead you nicely into winter, and once you get there, winter's coming, and so too the Ruba onto my wine list for the colder months. Happy drinking. See you next week. Cheers.